was going to try to get on, but wasn't sure if he was going to be able to or not. So, don't think he's on yet. I can't really tell who's on. Should we do a quick roll call?
Hey, Denny, Joe Cloyd is on. I have not successfully been able to get on the Teams, but I'm on the conference call line.
Okay.
Denny, Michael Watson here.
Hey, Michael.
Denny, Joe Spraggins is here.
Good afternoon.
Denny, Kim Turner is on the phone.
Okay. Hey, Kim.
Hey.
Well, I'm not sure. People must be having issues getting on is the only thing I can think of. I don't think we have very many board members on. So
Denny,
Yeah.
This is Jamie at Bank of Yazoo. I can see the names. Alex Bucklew is on.
Okay.
Joe Spraggins, he's already checked in. Josh Carver, Kim Turner, Michael Watson, Denny Terrell, that's you, Wade Hinton. And then I've got 3 people that have called in. I can't tell who they are.
Okay.
It's 11 total.
All right. So I think out of our board, we're missing Colin, David, Drew, Van, and Matt. So we're missing 5 of the 7 off the board from what I've got.
Denny, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I'm on. I'm in a group setting, so I've got you muted, but I'm on. We may not have a quorum.
Okay.
Hello, someone just beeped in.
Yeah, this is David Hallman.
Good afternoon, David. Okay, so that should give us a quorum.
Just somebody else just beeped in.
I'm not able to log on to Zoom online. For some reason, I'm getting an error message.
We had someone else beep in.
Yes, this is Liz Boland with DFA.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Again, this is Denny. Van's in some meetings in California, so he asked me to fill in on the call, and it should be, fairly short. We just met on Thursday. We do have minutes. So if we could get a motion to approve the minutes from Thursday, September 29th.
Hey, Denny, if I could just make a quick comment.
Sure.
The minutes look fine, except y'all know that for boards, you only really need to put in your minutes those matters on which the board took action. And so there's a lot of narrative in these minutes. If you want to approve those with the additional narrative, there's no problem with that, but you could really cut those down to just reflect actual action. So I just want to throw that out there before y'all take the vote.
So does anybody have a motion to pass the minutes as represented with the action only?
Moved.
Second.
That was David.
All right.
Hey, who's taking minutes for this meeting?
Sharon Tolson. I'm on the line. I'm taking the minutes again for this meeting.
Thank you, Sharon. I just want to make sure, did you get that motion in second?
I don't know who made the motion and seconded it. I'm on my phone, so I can't see or
Yeah, David
tell. If you
Holman
could
made
give
the
me your
mo-
name.
Yeah, David Holman made the motion.
Okay.
And Joe Cloyd seconded.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so it passes. Again, this was going to be kind of a short call. I think that in our first meeting, we pretty much obviously came to the conclusion that coming up with our application process was first and foremost on our list, and agreed with the Attorney General's office and Kim. We're going to kind of look at the Georgia model and kind of come up with a starting point draft from that. And I know, again, we just met on Thursday, so we don't have that yet. And I know that one of the things that Van had asked was that we, just kind of start looking through the Georgia model and coming up with some things, or seeing if there's anything that we would want to take out or add to, and start maybe having some of those conversations. So again, it's kind of hard to do until we have a draft to start with when you're just looking through Georgia. But I don't know if anybody has any comments about things that they've seen, or recommendations, or just thoughts, discussion.
I actually do have a draft that I started over the weekend, and where I got to is in looking at Georgia's. When you get to part 2 on Georgia's, they have a lot of different criteria that they use to evaluate particular projects and whether or not funding will be approved. And so that's the decisions that you guys need to make, is what criteria, if any, if there's anything measurable, but what criteria, starting at part 3 in Georgia's, are you guys going to look at that we need to ask questions about on the application? So I know there's no matching requirement in the statute, Mississippi statute, so we don't have to worry about matching. But Georgia asks for planning documentation, to upload planning documentation, and a series of other questions, like I said, starting at part 3, which is something that you guys will need to decide, so I know what to include.
Okay, does anybody have any thoughts towards that at this time?
This is Joe here. Should we, this may be a bad idea, but it's something, should we go ahead and have Kim include all of the things that Georgia has in there, and we have a list to start from that we can strike out? Because we're essentially going to have a starter document, and rather than trying to build it from the ground up, maybe we start with it built and pare it down, the things that we don't find necessary or important as a board. Just a suggestion.
I can do that. I can certainly include everything. Is there any criteria that y'all know you'll be looking at, though, that maybe Georgia hasn't thought about? Is there any, if y'all talked about criteria when you're looking at these different grant applications for what you'll look at in deciding which ones qualify and which ones don't?
We have not had any of those conversations yet. So yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with Joe. Probably the more that we could put in there that could apply, and then once we can have that and really start digging into it, we can pull out what doesn't, and then also have the conversations as to, what might apply to Mississippi that Georgia, does not have in there as well.
So just a couple of questions. Do y'all, I think the bill would support it either way. Is this a grant that you envision would be a direct pay, or would you make provision for some type of reimbursement grant as well, where the county or municipality spends the money, produces invoices to you, and then you reimburse money.
This is David. I think that would be a much safer route for us to go, is a reimbursement.
That's how a lot of federal grants are set up. I was just curious. Georgia has that component as well. They actually ask, are you asking for money up front, or are you asking to be reimbursed money? And if there's a reimbursement that you guys would be willing to do, that could arguably capture any projects that may be midstream that counties or cities or non-governmental entities have in the work. So you could arguably catch projects that are present as opposed to future. I'll put it in there.
I'm Joe here again. I'm in agreement with David that it's certainly safer until we really know what the compendium of what the applications are going to look like. I would hate to prevent providing startup funding for something, but I'm just, not having seen any, obviously we're just starting this, not knowing exactly what's going to come in. It seems like we would have some flexibility, at least with the initial round of grant applications. And I know for me, the other component that seems to be important would be grants that are projects that would be able to be leveraged, to not just use this pot of money for the trust, but that would enable leveraging from other sources would be high on there. I know that in the other application, but just that one seems to be very important and in line with the initial mission of the organization.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is Denny, and I agree with that too. I think the more open, I guess, we could be and be comfortable with the application early on, the better. And then we probably would want to, as we learn in a year or so, as it's developed and we see how these applications really come in and where all the opportunities are, then we would probably want to make some changes as we go. But not really knowing, you don't want to limit somebody if it's a good opportunity.
I will duplicate all the criteria that's in Georgia's on that part of the application and then email it to you guys so that you can become familiar with it before the next meeting. And then I'll also pull from Georgia's manual how their questions coincide with their evaluation criteria.
Okay, that would be great. And then, as part of that too, then we're going to have to, as you said, some of the other, but that's kind of how we'll have to develop our own kind of scorecard of how we would score all that in the selection.
Yeah, that's what I mean is on Georgia's, they have a point system for that criteria. So that that'll go hand in hand as you guys develop the application.
Right.
Something else I noticed before we leave this conversation is in y'all's bill towards the end, there is a mention of an executive director. And I know that Kelly spoke to you guys last week and you already voted to go ahead and make a hire for someone to help, a grant administrator. But we may want to have another conversation with Kelly and Liz Welch because I do think the bill contemplates an executive director too. And that might be helpful in addition to a grant administrator.
Okay. I think that definitely merits more conversation about that. I believe we did make a motion in the meeting to go ahead and pursue notifications and all to try to get that out for the, I believe we called it a project manager supervisor or something like that. Okay, any other discussion or questions concerning the application process and kind of how we're going about that now? Okay. One other thing, Van kind of mentioned while we're on the call real quick today is we did make a, I guess we did decide that we would meet Mondays at 1 o'clock by teams or whatnot, but we did talk Friday and it would be good to meet face to face at least once a month. So he did say if we could, while we're on the call, maybe pick our next Monday, 1 o'clock face-to-face meeting. And again, if somebody can't be there, we can call in, but we're going to at least attempt to try to meet face-to-face once a month. So what I was hoping was maybe the 17th or 24th of November, it'll be a Monday at 1 o'clock, depending on how your schedules work.
'24th works for me.
Is the 24th good with everybody else?
We were saying in the afternoon, correct?
1 o'clock, right? And I mean, that's just the time we set it for every Monday. I guess we could move it if we needed to, but if 1 would work, that'd be great.
I can make 1 work on the 24th.
It should be fine with me. This is David.
Okay. Well, great. We'll just set that Monday, the 24th will be face to face. And as of now, I'll just say it's in the same room we met in this last time. And if that changes, we'll notify everyone.
Okay.
And with that, that's really all we've got. David, you guys got anything else? Or Michael, do you have anything you'd like to offer, discuss, or talk about today?
I've got one last thing for us to consider just, before our next meeting and conversation is, we have this really great opportunity on the front end that has limited resources, 10 million for this initial funding, and either that or hopefully a little bit more for next year's appropriation, depending on what the legislature is willing to do for us. I'd like for us to consider whether it's a good idea to either look at adopting an existing plan or to commission our own, so that we that can help drive the grant application project selection process. Not that it would have to be a strict adherence to such a plan, but it does seem like that could be a very wise direction for us to consider approaching, so that we maximize these dollars along a long-term plan.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that, and in order to find these opportunities, and that's kind of like we talked about in the meeting Thursday, was we'd like to see us make an impact before March. So the more we can speed this stuff up, the better.
Are there any pending applications? Is there somebody that has a funding request already that you know of?
I don't believe so, because again, we haven't given them the avenue of a way to submit. Now, I'm sure people are sitting on some.
You got him big old deer in the background.
Let's see. Am I muted? I don't know.
One thing we need to consider is whether we're going to, on the percentage matches, if we're going to allow in kind. Let's say somebody already owns the real estate and they're putting that forward for a project. That
y'all gonna
versus
have it?
actual cash.
Are y'all doing a percent match? Because it's not in the statute. That's one
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
Not
that
in,
it's not, there's not a percent match required by the statute unless there's maybe a companion federal grant that's going along with this. But unlike Georgia, there's not a required federal match unless you guys impose it.
I would think that we would make that part of the scorecard once we get to the point to where we're really looking at how we're scoring it, so that, obviously something that has a 100% match would score a lot higher than something that has a 0% match, but it's just part of how we score and decide.
I agree, but Georgia has a 25% of total project as the minimum match is what I'm reading here.
Yeah, Georgia does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I agree with Danny, that should probably be on the scorecard, and that way we can be keep the process as open as possible to get as many applications as we can.
Okay, well, look, everybody's busy. I won't keep you if we don't have anything else. So, does anybody have any other business they would like to discuss?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so moved. Well, thank y'all, and I guess we'll be on another call again this time next Monday. And Kim, just thanks for all you're doing for us. Again, Thursday was our first time together, and so we really have not had a whole lot of conversations about any of this. We're just kind of reading things and doing things on our own. So this is just really us getting started. So again, that's kind of why I like that idea of the more we have in this, the more it gives us to kind of start talking together about how we move it forward and really get it rolling. So, I think we're just really at our starting point. So we just hadn't had a lot of conversations. So
Sure. I'll be sending you guys, like I said, an email and including some additional information maybe from Georgia that will help. So that should help drive our conversation next week.
great. Okay. All right. Well, thank y'all. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.